Disclaimer, I will be talking about the characters as if they are real people. So if your mind can't comprehend that I know that there are actors playing a role, but I am so engrossed in the story that I'm talking about the characters as if I know them. If you can't handle that, click the X. Go ahead, click out now. No need to leave a comment and let us know, oh, they're not real people. We know. You're ruining the fun. You're being a party pooper. You can exit now. Thank you. Welcome to La Vida Rosa. I'm your host, Pinky, and today we're going to be talking about girlfriends. So if you'd like to see more, then just stay tuned. Like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into this video. So this video has been a long time coming. I've been promising this video for so long that I forgot when I started promising. Like, I think this was last year. Whenever Girlfriends came out on Netflix. For my rant videos, I usually like to watch the show, take notes. So I did that, but I accidentally deleted my notes. I was kind of deflated after that. Then I realized, y'all, I've pretty much been watching it since the beginning, even though I was a child and probably shouldn't have been watching it. I know this show well enough that I probably don't even need the notes. So we'll see how this goes. First things first, I think I want to discuss Toni and Joan, and it's kind of like you almost can't talk about Joan without talking about Toni, and vice versa, because they were very codependent in a very toxic way. Joan is like this kind of like a people pleaser, yet she can be very judgmental. Yeah, she can be classist and egregious. Oh yes, Maya's mom was not lying about that. Very man crazy. She's also a self-saboteur when it comes to men. Inevitably, Joan will find a way to ruin it, even though that is literally what she lives and breathes for. And when you think about it, I don't even know if it's that she necessarily wants a man. I think she just wants what she has, this fairy tale idea of a marriage. Honestly, her most meaningful and fulfilling relationship on this show was with Toni, which it's kind of sad because even though they were there for each other, they did have a very strong sisterly bond. Like I said before, it's very codependent in a toxic way. The reason why it's so toxic is leaning more towards Toni, and let's just be honest about that. Even though I really enjoy Toni, she's very entertaining, but she has her ways. Toni has done some trash things to people that are supposed to be her friends, namely Joan. The very first episode of the series, Toni brought Joan's ex-boyfriend to her birthday party as her date. Had been dating a man. Surprise! It's not like she's just started treating Joan like trash. She always treated Joan like trash. I feel like Toni set the tone for how the rest of the friend group treated Joan. If your childhood friend is treating you like trash, why should the new people that come in, why should they not treat you like that? And Joan allows it. She also sets the tone by not setting boundaries. She's reliable, but she goes overboard with it. It's that people pleaser thing in her. She has to take care of her friends. She has to be there for them to fall back on no matter what. And I feel like she does that because of her abandonment issues with her parents. Her parents were very neglectful of her, so she was very thirsty for their love and for their attention. And so for her friends, it's like she is very overly accommodating to them because she feels like she has to do that in order for them to be her friend. And we see her friends take advantage of it. Lynn lived with her for years and years and years. No rent, no foreseeable future of moving out. Anytime any of them fell on hard times, I mean, they didn't have to go back and live with their parents. Like, they would come live with Joan. Literally, at one point, all of her friends were living in her house, including their children. So Joan is much more accommodating than I could ever be. And then when she decided to open a restaurant and it was failing, instead of doing the thing that Joan might do for them, maybe telling friends to come and patronize her business, you know, promoting her business, you know, helping out maybe in the restaurant, they literally took advantage of her and ate up all her food, literally losing her money every day. Trash. Like, Literally, they treated Joan like they used Joan up. At certain points of this show, I was like, I don't even know how Joan could be friends with this woman. I guess there was give and take because Joan is a lot to deal with. I'm not gonna act like she's not neurotic. I'm not gonna act like she's not overbearing. She really is a know-it-all. She thinks she's right about everything. One of the ugliest things that Joan did to Toni was when she was jealous of her getting married. Oh my goodness. Like, she could not take it, and she was doing everything she could to sabotage that wedding. And I do not blame Toni for cutting up that bridesmaid's dress. Like, she made everything about herself, but that was one time where it actually was about her. So when it came down to picking the dress, when it came down to, you know, the bridal party and just being there for her best friend, she was the maid of honor. Like, for her to have completely dropped the ball like that because of jealousy, child. And then I know she was going through all that stuff with Ellis, but she was putting that in the forefront in order to overshadow Toni on her wedding day. And that was, I don't blame Toni at all. She probably still wouldn't have been in my wedding, low key. I am happy for my friend. I'm happy for my friend. I'm happy for my friend. That is one of my favorite scenes from this show. Oh my goodness. Tracee Ellis Ross did that. I am happy for my friend. I'm happy for her. I'm happy for her. And that was not the first time Joan got disinvited from a wedding, because she almost tried to ruin Maya's wedding with her takeover spirit. By the way, we got robbed of Joan's wedding day after we spent all these years of hearing her cry and complain and be jealous and ruin other people's weddings for us not to even get to see hers. I don't care if we know that she's engaged. She probably married right now, but I want to see the wedding. Okay, I want to see her husband big old shiny round head at the altar. That's what I want to see. So getting back to Toni and Joan's friendship, I just feel like there were many times where Toni completely betrayed Joan. I already mentioned her birthday. When it came down to the situation with Greg and her cheating on Greg and Joan accidentally revealing to Greg this, Joan did everything she could to try to make up for this mistake that she made. She took her to Jamaica. The girl met a rich and famous man and was about to marry him. But when she found out what Joan did, first she knocked her out, and as if that wasn't enough, she went and tried to sleep with Joan's man. And I'm just like, yes, Joan has a big mouth, but you trying to sleep with her man who was a former sex addict? The friendship should have been cut off right there. That's another time when the friendship should have ended. After that, Joan had like a mental breakdown or whatever, had to see a therapist, and she was literally in a mentally abusive relationship, low key, because Toni even came up to the therapist's office to confront her. So Joan did have a final straw with Toni. I believe it's because Toni told her boss that her boyfriend was a sex addict, and she really did cut her off. I think that was just the straw that broke the camel's back, because she had been forgiving her. She'd been wanting to cut her off and never did. So that was the final straw. She cut her off, and then Toni managed to weasel her way in because her man cheated on her. Oh, how does it feel? How does it feel? Because you tried to do the same thing to Joan. Now you want me to console you and rub your head and hug you because I'm rubber, you're glue, and whatever you did bounced off me and right back to you. Oh, now you want me to be there for you? I was so here for Joan not folding when Toni showed up on her doorstep crying, because clearly, even though she was feeling bad, it was still manipulative to show up like that in the middle of the night at her party, knowing what was going on. But then they had a moment where they went to church. When have they ever went to church? I thought that was so heavy. Like, that was one moment in the show. I'm like, is this really realistic? That just didn't make any sense to me. And once again, it was like that abusive relationship once again when they went up to the altar and started crying, and no real change was made. I mean, Toni claimed that she turned over a new leaf, but that didn't last long. It's just like a boyfriend cheating on you and bringing you some flowers. Like, I changed, baby. I changed. I ain't never gonna do it again. What do you really expect? In real life, I feel like their friendship should have ended right there. But because of the person that Joan is, clearly she was going to take Toni back at some point. The show would have ended. So they had to. Toni did have an alcoholic mother and she grew up poor. So she vowed that she would never go back to that lifestyle. She wants to live a very lavish life. So not only is she a realtor and, you know, that brings in the money that she's looking for, but she also wants to find a man, a high value man with plenty of money, and she has no interest necessarily of being in love, but more so in the money that the man could bring. I personally, I don't know if Toni loved anybody outside of Todd, and I'm teetering on whether I really believe she loved Todd or not. One, because clearly Toni was a narcissist. But two, I think the reason why she wanted Todd so bad is because he did not want her and she could not take it. I don't know if Toni really loved anybody. Toni loved money. She loved status. She loved herself. The closest person probably would be Joan and maybe Todd. Her daughter. She loved her daughter. Like, I feel like Todd is low-key one of the biggest villains on this show, if you ask me, because you know what Toni is looking for. You knew what you was getting yourself into. You call yourself falling in love with her anyway, knowing what she wants is money. That's the main thing she wants. And you literally don't have any. It's kind of like a sinister plan because you married her, you spent all these money, you maxed out your credit cards or whatever. You are a fraud. You are a fraud. Toni had every right to leave you. Every right. And I low-key wish she would have left him before she even had his baby, because what came afterwards is kind of like she lost her dignity behind this man. But her relationship with Todd was very toxic and really, it was a lie. I mean, he ended up cheating on her and trying to take her child away. Even though she was having her issues as a first-time mother, that gives him no right to try to take all of her rights. I'm going to fast forward to the situation with Toni and, you know, her court case with fighting for custody for her child. I did a poll on Instagram and I basically asked, who do you think was more so in the wrong in, you know, the ending of their friendship? And most people said Toni, but I was surprised that it was kind of neck and neck. Even though Joan had been her number one from the beginning, always there for her whenever she needed it, she fell short in this one moment. And yes, it was a very major event in her life, life-changing even. But it was like one period of time where Joan was unreliable and she was selfish for once. It does kind of feel like she was giving her payback, because it was like moments where Toni wanted her to like babysit her baby, or, you know, show up for this, show up for that. And Joan was pulling a Toni on Toni. She was doing exactly what Toni does. Joan was being a poser. She really was trying to be the it girl the way she viewed Toni. She's always wanted to be that person. And she finally got her moment to shine. And yeah, she acted a fool, but this was her first time ever not being there for Toni. So when that happened with the party and she got drunk and her car was totaled and she truly was not able to make it, for Toni to not even hear her out. Maybe you don't want to hear her out in that moment. For her to shut her completely off after everything they had been through, I feel like Toni was dead wrong. She completely shut Joan out. No phone call, no sort of resolution. Joan didn't even really have a chance to apologize. There was no closure whatsoever. I feel like in a way that was more hurtful than if she would have cursed her out. Or Toni knew what she was doing. She knew what she was doing by completely shutting that relationship out. And I feel like that was like one of the meanest, out of everything she did, I feel like that was the meanest thing she ever did to Joan. That was like the harshest punishment that she could have ever given Joan, knowing how Joan feels about her and knowing how Joan feels about her friendships. that was like the worst thing she could ever done. And I feel like it was low-key evil. Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that, Toni? Like, that was, and still, like, I bet you still to this day she hadn't talked to Joan. A true narcissist. I'm sorry, I don't see it for Toni when it comes to their friendship. She was toxic from the beginning to the end. But I also feel like we do have to realize that this is a TV show. So had the real actress who played Toni continued on the show, eventually they would have circled back. But because she left, the friendship cut off. Another thing is, I feel like in real life, when Joan and Toni broke up their friendship, I feel like that would have broken up the entire friend group. Toni leaving they would just eventually drift apart. Maya moved out to the outskirts. You know, Lynn was doing her singing thing. I feel like they definitely would have drifted apart. And I don't even think it would be a question. Like, I don't think they would be friends if after that. And plus, it seems like they low-key took Toni's side in that matter too. So Joan in these failed relationships, oh my goodness. Like, how many men did Joan go through? Like, she had the sex addict. She had the guy that worked at a restaurant, which honestly was probably her best bet for the longest. I kind of wish she could have explored that with him. Ellis, oh, that was Ellis got on my last nerve. And yeah, Joan acted a fool, but so did he. I mean, their whole relationship started off of a lie. Then he got somebody pregnant. I mean, not during their relationship, but I mean, the baby's still coming. I couldn't have done it. I would have had to leave him right then. They managed to get past all that, and she ended up leaving him for his agent. While I was happy that she left him, the whole thing surrounding the agent, like, oh, this is so romantic. What was the word they kept using? Enchanted. If I heard enchanted one more time. Enchanted. Vegas, baby, Vegas. Oh, they tried to make it seem like a fairy tale. I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't seeing the chemistry. It was mainly lust that fizzled out. Okay, Joan was her same neurotic self, pushing marriage on him so early. They were going so fast that she didn't even know this man didn't want kids. See, that's how I know y'all wasn't asking the right questions, because that should have been one of y'all first conversations. Joan, she just so thirsty for a man, she just can't help it. So obviously that didn't work. Was William after that? Who in their right mind said Joan and William needed to be together? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to go off on? Because what? That never made any sense. The chemistry was never there. When they kissed, it was like, ugh. Like all that Cinco de Mayo is holiday time. All that little stupid stuff they used to do together was very sibling. So for them to put Joan and William together, and I know it never actually worked, but they had this whole time of where he was pursuing her, and then she was like pushing him away, and then she ran after him and was pursuing him, and they got together, and it was just like weird, incestual almost. I was so done. Like, I was like, why are y'all doing this? And speaking of William, why did they made it seem like William was just so irresistible to women? Now, yes, he was this high power lawyer with all this money. And I even understood how he got Monica. Monica was on a mission. But all the rest of these women that were falling out over William did not make any sense whatsoever. He had no game whatsoever. It's William. I mean, he even got Lynn. Like, what? Even though Lynn wasn't hard to get, it was just really weird, and you know, it just became really over the top whenever him and Joan were together. I just was disgusted. Him and Joan kind of mirrored each other a lot to me. I feel like that's a big reason why they didn't work. It's because they're a lot alike. Even though he tries to act like she's so much worse, he's very picky. He's not a good partner because he's very selfish. And he did not treat Monica right, even though Monica wanted him for money. Clearly, when she went back to him, she was there for love, and he just treated her really bad. At one point, he tricked her into coming back to him and lied about losing his job. He completely embarrassed her at their wedding. I mean, he's a terrible partner. He really is. Like, I don't know how he got anybody aside from him having money. Like, when he wanted the police officer, I forgot her name, when he wanted the police officer to quit her job for him. Like, you met her as a police officer, and you really think I'm finna give up my whole livelihood for William?
I'm not even mad she walked out on their wedding because his mama didn't even show up.
See, this is why I need notes, because I'm getting off track. Finally, she meets the right man that loved her in spite of it all. I mean, she almost ruined it a few times, but he ended up proposing to her. I mean, this is her life's mission, is to get married. So, you know, it was nice to see that happen for her. But like I said, I would like to see a wedding. I really talk about Maya. I love Maya's growth. Maya, I feel like she had the best growth on this show. She went from being a secretary to writing her own book and becoming a best-selling author. Like, I loved it. She had a really good journey. I really liked watching Maya. She's one of my favorites. Obviously, the whole thing with Darnell, Maya was cheating. Okay, I don't know why when I watched this show when I was a little kid, I was like, why couldn't Darnell just forgive her? Maya was cheating. I don't care if they never slept together. I don't care if they kissed once. She had her friends hiding this relationship, telling Darnell she was one place when she was another. Okay, this man bought her a watch. Lynn told her husband that her friend bought it, and that put a strain on. I don't think Darnell ever truly liked Joan after that. Oh, I did forget. Joan was the one who told on Darnell that he was cheating. Was he actually cheating? So now that I think about it, Darnell did cheat in the beginning, even if it was emotional cheating. So he could dish it, but he can't take it. That's how men are. But Maya is stupid. Like, as soon as Stan would have entered my household and he would be sitting on the couch with my husband, do you really think I'm finna go along with this? I will blow up my own spot before I let you do it. I would blow up my own spot. I couldn't even believe that she went along with that and let Stan taunt her like that. Like, I really could not believe it, especially Maya. You know, I know she didn't want to ruin her marriage, but oh, y'all, that moment where she walked in the house and he played that voicemail that she accidentally left, confessing everything that had happened between her and Stan, Golden Brooks, and what's that man's name? Khalil. They both deserve an Emmy for that. Like, the way his voice broke, because let me tell you, Flex couldn't have done that. I'm so glad they replaced Flex with Khalil, because Flex can't act. Let's just be real. Flex got replaced after the first season, and it was well deserved. I'm so sorry. You're gonna do much better on One-on-One, a silly show, but when we need serious moments like these where we have to get some acting like from a true actor, Khalil, he brought all the feels out of me. He made me feel I was there. We here. And I wasn't even mad at him for kicking Maya out. And I just love how this show really stretched it out over the seasons. Like, it's not like he forgave her the next season. Like, he went on, dated someone else. Maya was trying to like get him back, and they had this push and pull of will they, won't they, and then he finally broke off and went with someone else, and she had to, like, you know, live as a single woman and kind of watch him move on. And she was like really going along with it, and even made it to his wedding where she couldn't take it and she left. When he ran out to her at his own wedding and they circled back and they made it back to each other, that was just like, oh, like the ultimate love story. That was like chef's kiss. Moments like that, that's what makes this show so good. Especially like when he ran out to her in the parking lot of his wedding, and then her family was running after him, about to beat him up for leaving their sister at the altar. I ain't gonna lie, Maya was a user though. Like, she will use you for everything you got. I mean, she definitely used Joan. She definitely with that whole situation with her cousin Ronnie, and how he was like the one that helped her get the book deal, and she wasn't even trying to pay him to get her hair done. Like, she a user, baby. Speaking of user, Lynn. Well, what is Lynn? Lynn is like a vagabond. Lynn is, you know, I guess people would call her free spirited. She was promiscuous. She was a freeloader. Very intelligent though. She just didn't want to subscribe to a 9 to 5 or have any sort of structure, but she wanted to live off other people. That was the main issue. But she didn't mind staying in a shelter. She didn't mind literally like stand on the corner and ask for money. Now I have to be honest, like when it came to Lynn, her character was a joke. They did not take her serious, which why would you in a lot of these instances? But anytime she had like a relationship problem, they would not take her seriously at all. Like the only time they took her serious is when it came to her parents, because she was adopted, and you know, when she was looking for her mother, when she was looking for her father. And they took her seriously when she finally took her singing career seriously. But other than that, everything surrounding Lynn was a joke, which is kind of like in real life, would you still be friends with someone like Lynn? Everyone around you has a career or working towards having one, and you don't seem to have any goals. You got 5 degrees in 5 different areas, but you're not really using your degree for anything, which I'm sure would make somebody like Maya mad, who had a hard time trying to get her degree and trying to make it, and you're like not trying to use yours at all. She even had to snap on her about that at one point when she was staying with her. Overall, Lynn was just pretty lost the majority of the series. The only time she finds that she has a passion for things is like through other people. It's like when she found out she had a passion for filmmaking or making documentaries, it was through her mother, her biological mother, who she was supposed to work on the documentary with, but she ended up flaking and abandoning her once again. And then when it came to the singing, she was trying to help her half brother to become a singer, but she ended up falling in love with the lead singer of a band, and that's how she, you know, figured out she wanted to be a singer. It was through him. I really just think that Lynn didn't love herself. Like, I know a lot of people, you know, think that, you know, sleeping with a lot of people is like freeing or whatever, but for Lynn, it just seems like she was trying to fill a void, whether that was, you know, left by her parents, or whether that was left by the fact that she didn't have a career that fulfilled her. You know, what is Lynn waking up every day and doing? Her getting with someone like that Jamaican guy she was with and having to take care of him every day. This is exactly what she deserved. This is how it feels when you be leeching off of other people. And it's crazy because he ended up leaving her, and then when they ran into each other, he didn't even have nothing to say to her. It was just really weird. Like, he actually really did her dirty, because she took care of you all this time. You ain't even got nothing to say when you see me. When she got with Savad, who was celibate, she liked the thrill of the chase with him, and the fact that she knew that he was with her for her and not for any other reason, even though every chance she got, she was trying to make him break it. And then in a weird turn of events, she got with a preacher. That was really weird. That was really odd and very unrealistic to me. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. So that's my rant on girlfriends. I'm so sorry if this was all over the place. Like I said, I didn't write notes. I don't know if I got everything in this video, so I might have to do a part 2. I don't know, but I would love to hear your opinion down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Also, let me know what you would like for me to rant on next. I would love to hear your opinion, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Peace.